uh, a match between Messi and Ronaldo. Who will win at 2000 point? Who will make 2000 point first? He will be the winner. Let's go, guys. First match, 50 point between Messi and Ronaldo. Let's go, guys. First point for Ronaldo.
1951 for 1952 Ronaldo. 1951 for 1951. 1952 for 1951 to Ronaldo. 1952 for 1952. 1953 for 1952 to Ronaldo. 1953 for 1953. 1954 for 1953 to Ronaldo. 1955 for 1953 to Ronaldo. 1955 for 1954 to Ronaldo. 1956 for 1954 to Ronaldo. 1957 for 1954 to Ronaldo. 1958 for 1954 to Ronaldo. 1959 for 1954 to Ronaldo. 1960 for 1954 to Ronaldo. 1960 for 1955 to Ronaldo. 1960 for 1956 to Ronaldo. 1961 for 1956 to Ronaldo. 1961 for 1957 to Ronaldo. 1961 for 1958 to Ronaldo. 1961 for 1959 to Ronaldo. 1961 for 1962 Ronaldo. 1961 for 1961. 1962 for 1961 to Messi. 1962 for 1962. 1963 for 1962 to Messi. 1964 for 1962 to Messi. 1964 for 1963 to Messi. 1964 for 1964. 1965 for 1964 to Ronaldo. 1966 for 1964 to Ronaldo. 1966 for 1965 to Ronaldo. 1967 for 1965 to Ronaldo. 1967 for 1966 to Ronaldo. 1968 for 1966 to Ronaldo. 1968 for 1967 to Ronaldo. 1968 for 1968. 1969 for 1968 to Messi. 1969 for 1969. 1970 for 1969 to Ronaldo. 1971 for 1969 to Ronaldo. 1972 for 1969 to Ronaldo. 1972 for 1972 Ronaldo. 1973 for 1972 Ronaldo. 1974 for 1972 Ronaldo. 1974 for 1971 to Ronaldo. 1975 for 1971 to Ronaldo. 1976 to 1971 to Ronaldo. 1976 to 1972 to Ronaldo. 1976 to 1973 to Ronaldo. 1977 to 1973 to Ronaldo. 1978 to 1973 to Ronaldo. 1978 to 1974 to Ronaldo. 1979 to 1974 to Ronaldo. 1979 to 1975 to Ronaldo. 1980 for 1975 to Ronaldo. 1981 for 1975 to Ronaldo. 1982 for 1975 to Ronaldo. 1982 for 1976 to Ronaldo. 1982 for 1977 to Ronaldo. 1982 for 1978 to Ronaldo. 1983 for 1978 to Ronaldo. 1983 for 1979 to Ronaldo. 1984 for 1979 to Ronaldo. 1985 for 1979 to Ronaldo. 1985 for 1982 Ronaldo. 1985 for 1981 to Ronaldo. 1986 for 1981 to Ronaldo. 1987 for 1981 to Ronaldo. 1987 for 1982 to Ronaldo. 1987 for 1983 to Ronaldo. 1987 for 1984 to Ronaldo. 1987 for 1985 to Ronaldo. 1988 for 1985 to Ronaldo. 1989 for 1985 to Ronaldo. 1989 for 1986 to Ronaldo. 1989 for 1987 to Ronaldo. 1990 for 1987 to Ronaldo. 1990 for 1988 to Ronaldo. 1991 for 1988 to Ronaldo. 1991 for 1989 to Ronaldo. 1992 for 1989 to Ronaldo. 1993 for 1989 to Ronaldo. 1993 for 1992 Ronaldo. 1994 for 1992 Ronaldo. 1994 for 1991 to Ronaldo. 1994 for 1992 to Ronaldo. 1994 for 1993 to Ronaldo. 1994 for 1994. 1995 for 1994 to Messi. 1995 for 1995. 1996 for 1995 to Ronaldo. 1997 for 1995 to Ronaldo. 1998 for 1995 to Ronaldo. 1998 for 1996 to Ronaldo. 1999 for 1996 to Ronaldo.
This time, guys, Ronaldo will be win at 2000 point. Let's start the 50-point match again. Who will be win at next time? Let's go, guys. 50-point match. Let's start this 1950 and less Messi point at 50. Who will be winner at 50 point again? This time Ronaldo will be win. Let's go, guys. Messi first point.
1951 for 1952 Messi. 1952 for 1952 Messi. 1953 for 1952 Messi. 1954 for 1952 Messi. 1954 for 1951 to Messi. 1954 for 1952 to Messi. 1954 for 1953 to Messi. 1954 for 1954. 1955 for 1954 to Ronaldo. 1955 for 1955. 1956 for 1955 to Messi. 1957 for 1955 to Messi. 1958 for 1955 to Messi. 1959 for 1955 to Messi. 1960 for 1955 to Messi. 1960 for 1956 to Messi. 1961 for 1956 to Messi. 1961 for 1957 to Messi. 1962 for 1957 to Messi. 1962 for 1958 to Messi. 1962 for 1959 to Messi. 1963 for 1959 to Messi. 1964 for 1959 to Messi. 1965 for 1959 to Messi. 1965 for 1962 Messi. 1966 for 1962 Messi. 1967 for 1962 Messi. 1967 for 1961 to Messi. 1968 for 1961 to Messi. 1969 for 1961 to Messi. 1969 for 1962 to Messi. 1970 for 1962 to Messi. 1970 for 1963 to Messi. 1970 for 1964 to Messi. 1970 for 1965 to Messi. 1971 for 1965 to Messi. 1971 for 1966 to Messi. 1971 for 1967 to Messi. 1971 for 1968 to Messi. 1971 for 1969 to Messi. 1972 for 1969 to Messi. 1972 for 1972 Messi. 1972 for 1971 to Messi. 1972 for 1972. 1973 for 1972 to Messi. 1974 for 1972 to Messi. 1975 for 1972 to Messi. 1975 for 1973 to Messi. 1975 for 1974 to Messi. 1975 for 1975. 1976 for 1975 to Ronaldo. 1976 for 1976. 1977 for 1976 to Ronaldo. 1978 for 1976 to Ronaldo. 1978 for 1977 to Ronaldo. 1979 for 1977 to Ronaldo. 1980 for 1977 to Ronaldo. 1980 for 1978 to Ronaldo. 1980 for 1979 to Ronaldo. 1981 for 1979 to Ronaldo. 1981 for 1980 to Ronaldo. 1981 for 1981. 1982 for 1981 to Ronaldo. 1982 for 1982. 1983 for 1982 to Ronaldo. 1984 for 1982 to Ronaldo. 1985 for 1982 to Ronaldo. 1985 for 1983 to Ronaldo. 1986 for 1983 to Ronaldo. 1987 for 1983 to Ronaldo. 1987 for 1984 to Ronaldo. 1987 for 1985 to Ronaldo. 1987 for 1986 to Ronaldo. 1987 for 1987. 1988 for 1987 to Ronaldo. 1988 for 1988. 1989 for 1988 to Messi. 1990 for 1988 to Messi. 1990 for 1989 to Messi. 1990 for 1990. 1991 for 1992 Ronaldo. 1992 for 1992 Ronaldo. 1992 for 1991 to Ronaldo. 1992 for 1992. 1993 for 1992 to Messi. 1994 for 1992 to Messi. 1995 for 1992 to Messi. 1996 for 1992 to Messi. 1996 for 1993 to Messi. 1996 for 1994 to Messi. 1996 to 1995 to Messi. 1997 to 1995 to Messi. 1998 to 1995 to Messi. 1998 to 1996 to Messi. 1998 to 1997 to Messi. 1999 for 1997 to Messi. 2000 for 1997 to Messi. 1980 for 1980. 1981 for 1982 Messi. 1981 for 1981. 1982 for 1981 to Ronaldo. 1982 for 1982. 1983 for 1982 to Ronaldo. 1983 for 1983. 1984 for 1983 to Ronaldo. 1984 for 1984. 1985 for 1984 to Ronaldo. 1985 for 1985. 1986 for 1985 to Messi. 1986 for 1986. 1987 for 1986 to Ronaldo. 1987 for 1987. 1988 for 1987 to Ronaldo. 1989 for 1987 to Ronaldo. 1990 for 1987 to Ronaldo. 1990 for 1988 to Ronaldo. 1990 for 1989 to Ronaldo. 1991 for 1989 to Ronaldo. 1991 for 1992 Ronaldo. 1991 for 1991. 1992 for 1991 to Messi. 1992 for 1992. 1993 for 1992 to Messi. 1993 for 1993. 1994 for 1993 to Messi. 1995 for 1993 to Messi. 1995 for 1994 to Messi. 1996 for 1994 to Messi. 1997 for 1994 to Messi. 1997 for 1995 to Messi. 1998 for 1995 to Messi. 1998 for 1996 to Messi. 1998 for 1997 to Messi. 1999 for 1997 to Messi. 2000 for 1997 to Messi.